And that's who's going to win big time. Like if anyone
Without a
says
doubt.
2026, I'm trying to meet with them now. Like I don't care because the second half of this year is going to be good. In my view, I'm very optimistic. 2026 is going to be even better. If you're not getting educated about local and national real estate market conditions, Federal Reserve news, and obviously what's going on in your local market, you're doing yourself and your client base a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers Podcast. I'm Tom Toole here with Lisa Chinatti. Byron Lazine's hobnobbing at acquisition.com with Alex Hermosi and Sharon. So we got big timed, Lisa. It's just you and me, but we're going to hold it down.
We
We've
did.
got a couple of great topics here I want to discuss. Leo Pareja, EXP CEO, came out and had some damning comments about not being able to champion consumers and gatekeep listings. We've got some reaction to that. Very hot topic right now. We've also seen inflation start to ease to pre-tariff levels, and mortgage applications are up according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. And we've got some disagreement in the Fed about if and when the next rate cut's going to happen. We're going to break it all down. Lisa, let's start with Leo Pareja and clear cooperation. Now, I'm kind of sick of this topic personally. However, I do like what he said here. So he came out, and the comment was pretty quick, and there's like an email involved. It was all very interesting. So he basically said you can't champion consumers and gatekeep listings. So what's your reaction to that right off the bat?
So broadly, I agree with it. And I think, again, being kind of tired of the clear cooperation policy,
Yes.
super important to discuss kind of what's shaking out. But my stance remains the same, right? I agree that gatekeeping listings in mass is bad for everybody. I don't think it's for the consumer. I don't think it does good for the industry. I don't think it's good for agents, none of it across the board. I go back to the same thing that I've said. There are opportunities to leverage off market stuffs in the right scenarios. But I agree, gatekeeping listings in mass is going to lead to big problems if we don't get ahead of it and really start to discuss what those problems are. And I think one of the things that we're doing a disservice to industry wide is talking about the downside of gatekeeping listings and this off market stuff just with respect to access to listings. And I think the things that we need to be aware of are appraisal data, like past sale data, all of the stuff that's tied into being pulled off of MLS and giving fair access to not just consumers, but so much more. The impact could be huge. And I don't think people are talking about that quite enough.
Yeah, the appraisal thing is interesting because you see a lot of appraisers, this has happened to me. They won't use private sales data. They've actually they throw
Nope.
them out. And that could be the comparable that gets the appraisal where it needs to be. And obviously someone paid that amount for a home. They might have had a mortgage themselves. So that's a really great point that hasn't come up
Yep.
yet. And I think that's really smart on your part. And I agree with you. The vast majority of sellers. I was on a listing appointment yesterday. I want to do whatever it takes to get the best price. Well, you know what that doesn't involve? A quiet listing campaign. You want to get this out to everybody that's out there. So we're in agreement there. Now, there was an email that surfaced here, Lisa. I want to get your, it's from a Compass manager. And it says, I'll give the short of it here. This is April 3rd. Hey, congrats. This is sent to an agent. Congrats on 2 new listings this week. Your spring marketing activities are rolling. I did notice that both properties did not start in the private exclusive status. I would like to ask you a favor. Can you help me out? On your upcoming listings, I asked for a commitment to use our 3-phase marketing program to expand the options for your sellers. These steps are so important to what we want to accomplish collectively at Compass. On your next private exclusive listings, we would be glad to distribute them to the office as well. Also, I want your sellers to benefit from the social media marketing that Compass provides on every listing that goes into Compass Coming Soon status attached. Blank and I are both available to help you learn any easy steps to leveraging 3-phase marketing. So let us know how we can help. What do you think about this email?
I think it is a slippery slope. I think that, it's, I'm going to go on a couple of different levels, right? Like, again, every agent should have the right to market their property for their seller in the way that is best for the seller. I understand that a lot of times some coming soon status can give additional marketing opportunities. But I think that, again, there's downside to the coming soon process. And it sounds to me, and I've never been a Compass agent. I've never been in Compass. I've never been
Me neither.
interviewed by Compass. So I don't know like the full, I can't tell you that I know the full pitch for what the off market, their exclusive listing portal is designed to do. But what I can say is that if it is just to give additional exposure, and I'm going to caveat that with if it is just designed to give additional exposure, it can't be, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But the way that it's written, it sounds like what they're looking for is more than just the opportunity for additional exposure, but potentially the ability to sell it off market and just within Compass, which I think is a very dangerous, slippery slope.
Yeah, you're being really
Uh,
nice here. This email to me is very clearly saying, "Hey, we want all of our listings to go into this status because we want to leverage our
yep.
private listing network to benefit maybe our agents, our clients, and but not the seller clients necessarily. All the buyers that they're working with that they've told we've got this list of off market properties. So I don't know if this is the right word. I'm going to use it. This looks like steering. It's like, hey, like we're influencing what to say and not letting the seller decide. That's pretty clear to me in this email, in this tone here. I mean, it's coming from a manager to an agent, and it's not like it's a, hey, let's try this out. Here's the benefits. Could you do me a favor? Right. I mean, that to me is very clear what their game
It
plan is
sounds like
here.
ChatGPT wrote that.
Right? And maybe hey, you know what? I got no problem with people using ChatGPT to write emails. I sometimes have to put them in to
Yep.
get more empathy and different things because I'm too direct, but that's a whole nother story. So I get where Leo Pareja is coming from here. And I think he's got a good point that you can't say this is what's best for the consumer and have emails like this surface inside the company that say, hey, this is what we want you to do. This is how we want you to do this. And what I don't know who this is. It's a managing broker with Compass. That's all. That's all that it says in the email. This is on Inman, by the way. It's not like this is something that we came out on
Right.
our own. And I think he's got a relevant point. Now, when you look at this, James Dwiggins, who's been very anti clear cooperation, he's the CEO of Next Home. He came out and started talking about, and this just got published today, actually, that this private listing strategy could lead to three different scenarios. One he calls Armageddon, which we'll talk about in a second. It seems a little extreme. I don't think the world's going to explode, and we've got Aerosmith playing a video about this. But he talks. One is that there could be serious a serious class action lawsuit that would be more winnable than the
Hmm.
NAR settlement. And he's talked
Okay.
to a number of class attorneys, and there will be massive litigation from this coming in time. And the only reason it hasn't started yet is because there's not a big enough class. And this is an easy. And he said I've spoken to class action lawyers who are like, this is easier to win than Burnett, and he thinks it's going to emerge in 24 to 36 months. I want to talk about that in a second here. The second outcome is a return to traditional practices, which I don't think is going to happen because Compass is going all in on this. And the third he calls
Right.
Armageddon, where everyone develops these networks. And now all of a sudden, there's not a lot of access to listings like you talked about, Lisa. Give me your reaction to these three scenarios. And let's start with number one and the class action status.
So I have not read his article, so that's super interesting. So litigation, I'm kind of catching myself up on it now. So within 24 to 36 months, and that they're alleging that attorneys will build cases against brokerages employing private listing strategies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that is a possibility. I think
Yeah.
especially where we'll see it happen is think about the consumer who finds out that they get slapped on the hand by Zillow or any of the other,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be realtor because they've taken a different stance on it, but like Zillow, and Zillow says, I'm not going to publish your listing in Zillow, and it negatively impacts the consumer. So I can see some of that coming up. I can absolutely see some class action litigation coming out. What I'll say is, I don't know that it's going to be big enough to get. I don't think it's being done at mass. I don't see it here locally in our market. I'm not sure. Do you see it in Philadelphia where this is happening at
Well,
mass? Where,
we'll see
go ahead.
enough of it that I see these homes sell, and you see two Compass agents on the other side, and days on market is zero. And I'm pretty clear. I know the market well, and I'm like, wow,
Yep.
they got a good number on that house, meaning the buyer, and I would imagine they would have gotten more. And so, but it's what 7,000 listings is the number that's being thrown around out of the all the listings in the U.S. that are out there. So I agree with you. I don't think it's a lot, but look at that article that came out on LinkedIn from the I forget her name. We talked about it. She actually commented on the post on Instagram we made about this. That it was like, hey, I'm glad this didn't happen. And all it takes is a few people to feel like they got screwed out of money. That's kind of what happened with Burnett. It wasn't a lot, and a lot of people. I mean, you and I talked about this on the pod here. So did Byron, that some of the testimony in Burnett, it was the reason they won is because of the fumbling by NAR, not necessarily the merits of the case. This looks a lot clearer to me. I mean, and there's so many instances when you see people sell off market, whether it's a private sale or something else, and you're like, I cannot believe they took that price for their home. I know they could have gotten more, and you get 6 or 7 disgruntled sellers, Lisa. That's all that it's going to take.
Yeah, so I agree with you 100% on that front, but where I'm gonna push back a little bit is that I think the reason that Burnett Sitzer was able to get as big as it did is because the class was big enough, and what everybody has
Okay.
to keep in mind is that the attorneys are only gonna take that kind of case on a contingency basis. No seller is going to come forward and say, I'm going to pay for this out of pocket. They're going to look for an
Mhm.
attorney who's going to take it on contingency. And if we're talking about 7,000 listings out of how many listings are in the US? Like 2 million, right? If we have 4 million sides in a year, that's 2 million listings. So we're talking about 7,000 out of 2 million. I don't think the class gets big enough to really
There's over
warrant, and
1
you'd have.
million active listings right now. Just, it's about a million. There's, 1,080,000. Keep going.
Okay. And so 7,000 out of that 1 million is such a small number. But if you look at like what allowed Burnett Sitzer to get so big, it's that the class was literally everybody who sold a home listed in the MLS. So you're talking that whole class is, it was limited within certain areas and brokerages, but you're still talking a substantial class versus 7,000. So I think James is right that there will be potentially some litigation that comes out of it. I don't know, and I think it's a possibility without a doubt. I just don't know that and I do believe that it would be a slam dunk to win, in that you and I both know without a doubt the marketing data is going to show that those listings did not get the same number of eyeballs that they would have gotten while they were on the market. I think some agent practices will be pulled into it, right? Because there's certain agents. Think about the times when you've sold a property off market. And sometimes I remember we used to do this a little bit back in, say, like 2018, 2019. I don't think we've really done it since COVID started, because it wasn't in
Okay.
the best interest of a seller. But we'd put a property out and we'd say, hey, if somebody was willing to pay this, we won't go to market. Right now, could the seller have gotten more? Yeah, maybe, but there's no way to prove it. I think anybody doing it right now it's gonna be difficult for them to really say that they couldn't have gotten more if they went to market. But flip side, I think the thing with Burnett Sitzer is that it was very easy to quantify what the damages were because of the way that commissions work, right? You could look back at a contract and see what percentage was being paid to a buyer agent.
Mhm.
What we can't do in this situation, nobody's going to be able to go back and peel back the layers of an onion and put back the situation to really quantify what did a seller leave on the table because of this strategy.
Well,
So,
yeah, and I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, that's going to be very difficult to do.
mhm,
But he's got a point here, and I think it's all the you and I both know the best way to get the best price is get the best exposure. I mean, we talked to Josh Rubin
without a
about this,
doubt.
who's in New York, who does not have an MLS, and I think he's got the most similar market to what is Compass is trying to do here, where there are pocket listings left and right. Now you've got celebrities, you've got extremely high net worth individuals. Those are the folks that might benefit from a private listing from their own personal preference. There is value in that. Now, I've worked with some very high profile folks and they said, screw it, let's get it on the market and get the best price possible. So, I
Right.
mean, but James has a point here. So, number two, I think we
He
both
does,
agree
but
there's
I
not going to
don't
be a
think
return to
it's
normal
it,
practices here.
uh Wait, so number 2, you don't think Compass returns to the old way of doing
No,
things?
yeah, I mean, I think that's the least likely of these scenarios, unless they get slapped on the wrist by NAR or something like that. Can we? I think that's probably the least likely outcome here from his proposals here. What do you think?
Oh, I might disagree with you. I
Okay.
so what I'm what I'm not gonna say is that I know the timeline for when that shakes out, but my gut, Tom, is that it's a lot of posturing, and if we fast
Hmm.
forward 24 to 36 months, I'm not sure that that Compass coming soon strategy, that exclusive listing thing is as big a thing as maybe they're thinking it's gonna be. If I'm a betting person, I think that this becomes a
I'm a
non-issue in
betting
24 to
person. What do we
36
got here?
months.
Who are we gonna? We gonna throw some cash on this, Lisa? We'll get the broke agent involved.
It This could be a fun one. Yeah, I actually think that they go back. So if we're looking at like class action, or we look at goes back to normal, or we go back to Armageddon, which is where everybody develops their own private strategy. I think Compass is, and again, this is where I'm going to look at the numbers. We're talking about 7,000 listings versus a million. So I don't see Armageddon becoming a thing because I think too many people are in support of clear cooperation. Too many of the big brokers are in support of clear cooperation. So I don't see Armageddon becoming a thing. I think Compass gets bullied in a way into going back to doing business the old-fashioned way. That's my
And I
and I'm willing to put money on that.
All right, we'll talk off air about this. I do, and I guess I should clarify when they say the old way. I don't think it's going to be like it was, where everything has to go on the MLS or it doesn't. I don't think that's the. I think that's what I thought he was referencing here. I would imagine there's going to be
Oh,
options for sellers, and they have to sign some MLS disclosures and file everything with the board like we used to do, prior to clear cooperation. I think that's probably the most likely outcome is giving sellers options. He didn't really talk about that in the article here, but that's what I would imagine happens because
yeah.
why are we making these decisions for homeowners? Like, imagine you're not in real estate, right? And you're a very opinionated, strong-willed woman, and someone says, "Hey, Lisa, here's our options," and you're like, "Well, I want to do it this way." And let's say it's your condo in Boston, your home in Chelmsford, and you're like, no, I don't want to do it that way. You're gonna want to do it what's best for you. You probably don't care about the rules and regulations, and I think a lot of homeowners feel that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would find a way. I think that there's always ways to play within the rules and regulations, but yeah, strong-willed
Sure.
and will find a way to make it work on my side. Well, what James did say, pulling it up, is path number 2 is Compass doesn't get its way, and this whole game slows down, and it's used selectively for sellers that legitimately need to do that. And we get back towards serving buyers and sellers correctly without manipulation of the market. I actually think that that's the outcome. I do believe that we'll get to a place where, just like we've talked about, there are times and places where non-public marketing is best for the seller, but 99% of the time, those sellers are going to find their way into MLS. All sellers will
Mhm.
find 99% of the time, sellers as a pool will find their way into MLS. And 1% of the time, the right thing to do will be to market it and sell it off market. And so I think that that's the path based on that description that James gave. I believe that that's the path where this ends up going.
All right. So it sounds like fundamentally we're in the same place. I think it's how it shakes out and what the
Right.
regulations are. So, all right, well, that's enough of that. I think I do give Leo Pareja a lot of credit. I think this was a well thought out article that he put together on Inman, and just the comment. I mean that struck me. So I like that. He friended me on Facebook the other day. It was a big day for me. That was very exciting. He must listen to the pod. I know he talks to Byron. So next up here, we got inflation expectations. They have drifted back down to pre-tariff levels, Lisa. According to a New York Fed survey, the New York Fed survey of consumer expectations shows that respondents in June saw inflation at 3%, 12 months from now, the same level it was in January. There's been a lot of people that have said these tariffs, which I'm a big believer, it's kind of a negotiation ploy and it's stuff to work out trade deals, that they were going to shoot inflation up, but there was a lot of fears earlier this year that would cause a spike in inflation. But the survey of consumer expectations shows that respondents feel a little differently. What do you think about this? I mean, I think we're 6 months into this now, 7 months in. And, I don't know what you're seeing in the market on the ground. I'm feeling people are loosening up a little bit. They're getting ready to make real estate decisions coming off that very low level of transactions that we saw last year. But I want Lisa Chinatti's take. What are you seeing? What does your crystal ball say?
Funny. Well, so what we're seeing in my crystal ball, two different things. I think we're seeing the same thing. And I think the data shows us that that's factual because there was another report that came out showing mortgage application volume is up. And so that's a really good
Hmm.
indication that consumers are feeling a little bit more confident and willing to make the leap. I think the tariffs, I think the one thing that I can say about the tariffs is that, now mind you, I haven't bought like a car or done a major home improvement since all of this was announced, but I don't know that there's been anything where the prices have jumped as much as what the predictions were as it was shaking out. Your take on that? Have you, because I know you shop and have had some maybe bigger purchases in there as well, but
Yeah,
your
it's
take
funny you
on
say that.
pricing?
Yeah. So we're renovating our kitchen, right? And I think this is very, real for a lot of people. And we had looked to do it a little closer to the pandemic, and some of the price quotes we got were astronomical when it came to like countertops and tile and stuff like that. And the prices are better now than they were 3 years ago. And
Yeah,
so that's very interesting, I find, because I think there was also, contractors are notorious for like if we can get it, we're going to charge it. And there was so many people doing home
right.
renovations there. I mean, that might have had something to do with it. I did recently get my wife got a new car after 13 years because my son had peed in the back and we had drawings all over the place. Like it's the kid car, right? And I mean, it was
Yep.
it was nuts. The price was pretty reasonable, what I thought. I mean, and I don't buy cars that much. I mean, we leased it, and the lease payment when it was not a U.S. car, so that was
Okay.
pretty interesting, especially when I talked to some other people and just kind of pricing it out locally. So I do think these tariffs are one. I mean, even and CNBC talks about this that they when Trump was slapping these 10% tariffs across the board with his big menu, if you remember the press conference. Well, he's got a
You
more
do.
conciliatory approach now involving ongoing negotiations. And really what he's trying to do is even out the import and export, which that's what we've negotiated thousands of home sales between the two of us. Sometimes there's an approach where you get aggressive and then you come down and people want to feel like they win the negotiation. And that may be what's going on
Yeah.
here. He does have a background in real estate and doing deals. I mean, that's what he did before he was president. So I think that's probably part of this. And the good news here is that inflation looks like it's getting close to that target that the Fed had. And it always takes time for these new initiatives to play out. Like every president that's been elected during my lifetime, they have these big initiatives, right? They want to, and then that's what happens. And then you know what? It takes months before you see how it's actually going to work out. And everyone loses their mind. They freak out. Well,
Yep.
what they forget is the federal government may be the slowest moving body in the entire country in terms of actually implementing things. Like it's besides like the dabbler real estate agents that try everything once and never do anything again. So it takes time, and I think we're starting to see the data, which is what's most important here. So, and a 9.3% spike in mortgage applications the week of July 9th. Let's talk about how important that is because typically you get to July 4th, especially in the Northeast, the market slows down for about 60 days to see that. And it's 9.4%, excuse me, from 1 week ago. That's a big jump. And we saw rates come down a little bit. That tells me there's some major opportunity for all the listeners here, all the knowledge brokers. You can go out and make some hay in the second half of the year if you didn't have a good first half because people are ready to transact and they can't keep putting their lives off and kicking the can down the road when it comes to these decisions. I mean, that to me is the best news of the
Yep.
whole pod here.
Absolutely. And like I said, I think that the 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 back of it is that consumers just feel confident, they feel comfortable, and maybe as an industry, we're doing a good job getting out the word that there is opportunity to be had right now. I met with a friend last night who was starting the process of selling a condo that they've owned for 13 years, and he said to me, I might put it off for a year because I'm not confident that I'd be able to find what I want. But if I could find like everything on the my absolute dream list for $1 million or less, I would do it today. And so we opened up MLS and I sent him 13 listings that literally checked every single box. And he was like, I had no idea. And it was funny to be able to watch the marketing history on those, of where there were some price decreases that allowed these listings that were sitting at like 1.15, 1.2 million just 90 days ago to
Mhm.
have dropped into that range that became affordable. So I think maybe consumers are starting to see opportunity. Agents are doing a good job talking about that opportunity, and maybe it's bringing a little bit of excitement back to the market. So I think it's fun.
Well,
And I think it's all kind
yeah,
of tied in. And I think it's just going to keep getting better.
I agree. I am very, excited about the second half of the year. I'm very optimistic. And something you
Yep.
just said there, Lisa, everyone listening needs to write this down. And this is the easiest thing you can do to engage consumers. Send them properties, period, right? Set up an e-alert, set up a property drip. Every person in your database should have a property drip about what's going on in terms of sales activity in their neighborhood. If they're a closed client, what they might be looking for, if they're actively buying. If you're not doing that, you know what happens? You ever walk down the street and you see like two coffee shops like across the street from each other, and some people go to one, some people go to the other, or you see like a Burger King next to a McDonald's, next to a Wendy's at like a rest stop. Don't eat any of that food, by the way, or you'll be not feeling well later. But that's a whole nother point. Your people are going to start shopping in other stores if you're not giving them the opportunities, right? I mean, the most successful
Right.
businesses, they get more customers coming to their store. So, even for the flex teams out there, right? Get them coming to your website, get them off Zillow, get them coming to your website if you have a realtor.com partnership, homes. Whatever it is,
Yep.
you want it coming from Lisa Chinatti, from Tom Toole, from Byron Lazine, whomever, and that
Yep.
smart move of sending, hey, here's what's out there. Because a lot of people, when they look casually, they miss the opportunities. When you're regularly putting the
Yep.
opportunities in front of them in real time, that sets you apart. And I cannot stress this enough. That is one of the easiest things every agent can do. You got 50 leads in your database, block out 2 hours and make sure all 50 of them have property drips. Doesn't matter how many leads you have. And that's why your friend is now thinking about transacting, because they didn't know what was out there, because customers don't
100%.
know until they get educated. And sometimes you got to educate in a couple different ways, not just telling, but showing. And that's exactly what you did. So great job.
Oh, thanks. I think one of the other keys, you actually probably just gave me the tee up phenomenally for this one, is I think that for agents who maybe aren't as busy as they'd like to be right now, one of the other really big opportunities is to go back through your database and get super intentional. Those buyers who backed out of the market 6, 12, 18 months ago because they couldn't find what they wanted, they couldn't find the property that checked all of the boxes in the price range that they wanted. I'd spend some time, 5-10 minutes in MLS, look through and see, do those properties exist now? Is there that opportunity? And not just the e-alerts and the drips, but can you get some really personalized reach out? Think about, like, you've got some like phenomenal scripting around, like, hey, would you still be a buyer if the perfect property came on the market, right? So
Mhm.
what if we agents take that, leverage it, and send that perfect property to re-engage people who might have even stopped that passive looking because it seemed unattainable a while ago. There's so much opportunity right now. It's so fun.
I'll give you an example where a close client of ours. I've multiple transactions with this particular person. Got referred to me by somebody. I mean, this is going back like 15 years. And you know what I
Yep.
did, Lisa? I called him on his birthday and I said, "Hey, happy birthday." And he goes, "I can't believe you called. By the way, can I get X amount for my house? Because I want to sell it, but I got to get this number." And I said, "Let me call you back. Let me do some research. I'm in my car right now." Send him two homes that sold that indicate his number is right in the range. I mean, there's always a little play either way, and one of them is going to settlement in a couple weeks. So, you know what I did? I set the intentional task to follow up. It went under contract in
Yep.
2 days. So I imagine it went at or above the asking price. And this is a seven-figure property. And all of a sudden, that emotional value that you can deliver, because there's three ways to deliver value. You got emotional, tangible, and educational. That's really what you can do when you have consumers that you're working with or people in your database. That turned into educational value. And now it might be the tangible value, which is he needs someone to help him sell his house. So, but that starts with the property drips. It starts with the basics that I know you coach constantly inside your organization. I learned this from Robert Slack, believe it or not. I went down to his office like years ago, and he goes, "Yeah, we just put everyone on a property drip from the MLS with real time data." And I'm like, "I'm an idiot. Why didn't I?" And it's so simple, but it makes such a big difference.
Yep.
And it's that guy's selling like what, like 4,000 homes a year. So it's success leaves clues, ladies and fellas.
100%. All right. What other topics did we have
So let's
for
talk about Jerome
today?
Powell, because I think we're talking about the opportunity here. And
Yep.
this week, there was a CNBC, Jeff Cox over there. He talked about the Fed officials diverging at the June meeting, which you usually don't hear. We talked about that. There was two different governors, Governor
Right.
Bowman and Governor Waller, that came out and said, like, hey, we need to do something, which you don't normally see. That was very unusual. And they were split between concerns over the tariff fueled inflation. It looks like it's coming down, and the labor market weakness. By the way, that jobs report last week, we didn't even talk about that. Did you see how many government jobs got added? It would have been very low otherwise. It was like 74,000, and it beat
Yep.
expectations, but you take that out, the jobs market would have been pretty weak. So that's a whole nother thing we didn't even talk about before the show. And what they're saying is that there's opinions ranging from a couple officials who said the next cut could come as soon as this month, to some who thought there'd be no reductions this year as an appropriate measure. I mean, this is you got a lot of combative opinions here, Lisa. What do you think the Fed does here? Because this is you got Operation Shadow Fed. Like, I mean, there's so much drama at the Fed right now, which you usually don't see. And I don't know that it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's something you want to monitor. And it looks like the market might have priced already some of this stuff into mortgage rates, because we saw them come down to like 6.7%, 7.7,
Right.
excuse me.
Yeah, it's same difference. It's been bouncing. The kicker is the rates have been bouncing around in the same range for. It's such a tight range now that it's been bouncing around in for a while. So I agree, it's priced in. I don't think we see a cut in July. I
Nope.
I think that they're going to ride it out. I, I I don't think anybody should even expect a cut before the end of the year unless something really softens in the job market. We're seeing a little bit of softening, and you're 100% correct. The jobs report was heavily pulled by, excuse me, by government jobs, and then by, I think, private education and health was next on that list. But it's not softened enough to make anybody really truly worried that we're going to hit a major slowdown in that respect. So I think we'd have to see a couple consistent months of job truly softening before we're even going to be able to talk about a rate cut. So my gut, not July and not after that. Maybe not before the end of the year. Your
The
take?
CME Group, well, I'm going to tell you what I know. The CME Group, they agree with you. They peg a 93.3% chance as of today. We see no rate movement at the next Fed
Yep.
meeting on July 30th. Let's look at the futures odds here. I feel like we're talking about like
Okay.
financial gambling all of a sudden, but we're going to roll with it. So at the month of September, the September 17th meeting, they have a 35.2% chance we stay where we are, a 60.6% chance there's a 25 basis point cut, or that's where we land at that particular meeting, and a
Okay.
4.2% chance we're 50 basis points below where we are. I mean, that's, I think, just there as an outlier, right? October
Yeah.
29th, 14.9% chance we're still at the same levels, 425 to 450. 45.9% chance we're at 400 to 425, and a 36.8% chance we're 50 basis points lower than where we are now at 375 to 400. And December, now this is the interesting one, only a 3.8% chance we're between 425 and 450. So that's telling me by the end of the year they do see something happening. You got
I agree with you on that.
22.9%
Yep.
on 400 to 425, 43.6 or
Okay.
50 basis points lower, which they did promise two cuts at the beginning of the year. So, it's like when you see these people make predictions and you're like getting close to the Super Bowl, and the team you picked
Yeah.
is still like they're in the championship game. Like, I'm not changing my pick now. So
Yep.
there is some odds that by the end of the year we see a 25 or 50 basis points lower. Now, I don't know if it's going to be one cut, two cuts. It's a singular cut that's larger. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if you ever do see a cut, they're going to be in 25
They're going
basis
to be
point increments.
tiny. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to see the big move. And then there's a 27.9% chance by the end of the year we're at 350 to 375, but that's probably because there's not enough data there. So
It's too
the
far out.
yeah,
Yep.
the foreshadowing is that we see something here, and you're right. It's all going to hinge on the jobs report. Inflation has calmed down. They had a dual mandate, not a singular mandate, Lisa, a dual mandate. So the singular mandate would have been just get inflation down. We're already kind of there. It's the jobs
Yep.
market that's keeping things going. So I tend to agree with you. And what that tells me for the market is, for all our real estate friends listening, all the knowledge brokers, you better get used to working in a market like this where you need to aim to educate and play the long game when it comes to trying to convert consumers. So we didn't talk about this before the show either, Lisa, but how are you coaching your agents right now? You're selling a lot of homes. What are you telling them in terms of understanding buyer and seller timeframes? Because there's still agents that are, they're like 3, 4 years in and they're still, they love those. Oh, come list me, come sell me a home. I'm only going to look at one property. To me, you can't count on that. I can count on one hand how often that happened my first like 18 years in the business. How are you
Yeah.
coaching agents around time frames? I'm going to share what we're doing as well, but I want to get your take on this because if you can change your mindset on this as an agent, you're not going to be getting let down with these expectations. Oh, they didn't like the house. I got to find somebody else. So tell me what you're doing right now.
So I love numbers and data. And one of the things that we're doing is looking at, and this is like really fun and it's concrete data, is the length of time that a lead has been sitting in our database before it actually transacts. You want to know what's super fun? 3 of our accepted offers this week were from leads that were over a year in our database before they
Yeah,
actually transacted.
that's what I'm talking about.
And so, yeah, so those numbers are super important because you can actually see that it's moving up, right? I last year, so 2020, 2021, we would get unicorns fairly frequently. And I define a
Same here.
unicorn as a lead that comes in, they request to see a property, and they either buy that property or they go under contract within like 7 to 10 days of coming into your database. That's a unicorn,
Mm-hmm.
right? In 2020, 2021, even 2022, we had a handful of unicorns, maybe 1, 2, sometimes 3 unicorns a month. I don't think we've had any in the past 4 months. We still do get some folks who transact within the first 30 days, but the number of true unicorns is like almost non-existent right now, which is a super big sign. And couple that with the number of leads that we are transacting with when they've been in the database for a year or longer. And what we're seeing, what would be super fun? Zillow often tracks it across all of their leads because they're just a massive data
Mm-hmm.
company. Maybe I'll reach out to my rep in a little bit and ask. They used to say that average time to transact was 88 days. I'm going to guess that they might be seeing that number increase to north of 100, especially when you factor in the country as a whole, where you've got markets outside of the Northeast that are really struggling to kind of keep
Mm-hmm.
up. So I'm to answer your question, long-winded way of saying I'm leaning into the data and giving them proof and kind of showing what it's going to take, and then giving scripting to keep folks engaged and empathy to help them understand. But also, I think one of the big things that we're doing is look back in 2021, we used to, coach the agents that they'd have to coach the consumer and themselves to
Mm-hmm.
understand that if the consumer took too long to decide, property might be gone by the time they decided. And now we've got to understand that consumers have choices and we've got to be able to help the consumer make a choice, right? And help them understand that the risk of waiting is that they might lose one and something else might not come up. But I think consumers need to feel confident that they're not missing out. They've got to see enough to feel confident that they're making the right decision. What are you doing? Anything different?
We're doing something the same, but I want to share some data that I sourced from our team, and then as well as a Redfin
Okay.
survey that's gonna. So Redfin, I think you could put close to the category in Zillow that they do have a good handle on data. So we
Yep.
run this training once a month. It's probably the best training we run at our team. It's called the Market Memorandum because it's market data, and then how do you communicate that data to your clients, to your consumers, the people in your database to make decisions. Right? It's what Logan Motoshami said. Because a lot of people there's some great agents that aren't analytical. So we're just trying to help them be a little more analytical so they can use it. So we polled the team on their biggest objections they were seeing. We had different categories. 63% said timing or not ready. So that to me is they don't understand the time frame, right? That's 63% out of 50 plus salespeople. So it's a decent sample size. So then what we did is I pulled 2 surveys. So you have the NAR home profile of or the NAR profile of home buyers and sellers, but it's published in 2024. They said that buyers typically spend 8 to 12 weeks searching for a home after their first inquiry. But I think that's too short. I think that's dated. So the Redfin survey,
Yep.
which was April 2025, 60% of buyers take 1 to 3 months to find a home, with 20% taking 6+ months. So the unicorns you're talking about, the only unicorns we really see are our closed clients that maybe found something and they've been looking online, they weren't ready to engage, but it was like the perfect property for them. Like that's what it's not inbound leads anymore. It's typically someone like that. So that's for home buyers, right? So you got 60% are taking, let's just call it 90 days, and you got another 20% taking 180 days plus. Well, that's 80% of buyers right there. So I think that's really important because, you figure you go out, you see what's out there. Well, buyers got to kind of get a feel for the market. You got to see some lemons to find the cherry. And that's an important thing.
Yep.
And we were in an appointment yesterday
Lemons
with,
for cherry.
well, right. With David. I was there with David, David Archer. And we're sitting there,
Yep.
and these people were like, originally, oh, we're not going to move until next year. And you hear that all the time. But people move up their time frame when they see the right property, to your point. And we sat with these folks. They haven't moved in 20 years. And we said, hey, why don't we just show you some properties? Not because we want you to buy anything. But you've got to familiarize yourself with the market. So when the right one does come up,
Yes.
you're not dancing
Yep.
around trying to figure out the process, getting the money to work. And they were like, this is a great idea. Thank you. And it was all strategy. And, at the end of the meeting, they said, hey, we're not talking to anybody else because we gave them a plan. So that was really important. Now, on the seller side, this is even more interesting. So the NAR profile for home buyers and sellers said sellers typically spend 2 to 8 weeks contemplating the decision to sell before contacting an agent. So they take 2 months before they even talk to somebody. Okay. So that's 60 days in discovery mode. You want to take out sellers relocating for work or some of the life events there, like job loss, a divorce, or something like that, because that'll speed it up. That's typically 1 to 4 weeks. The
Yep.
Redfin survey in May of 2025 noted that 45% of sellers begin planning 3 to 6 months before listing, with only 25% acting within 1 month due to urgent needs. So you got to figure, if you're prospecting for sellers, you got to you got to expect, hey, if they say I'm thinking about selling next year and it's July, you need to try to get in front of those folks, start educating them and helping them. And that's how you win in this market. Both of these data points indicate that you got to get in front of people sooner. And we know that over 70% of consumers will hire the first agent that they meet with. Unfortunately, a lot of agents got spoiled with that incredible unicorn market that we saw. I think Byron used the term a dum dum could sell a house by being in the right place at the right time, which I agree with. And we took advantage of that. I mean, that's how it goes. This is historical data that's always been the case. So if someone says I'm thinking about moving in 6 months and I'm an agent right now, I'm like, great. This is when we normally meet with people. The good news is we can give you some great information to get you educated. So when you are ready, you're able to move quickly because we don't know when that next opportunity is going to arise. So would you be open minded to a strategy session? Because what you don't want to do is figure out this process when it's decision making time. You want to know what to do when the right opportunity comes up. And that's who's going to win big time. Like if anyone
Without a
says
doubt.
2026, I'm trying to meet with them now. Like I don't care because the second half of this year is going to be good. In my view, I'm very optimistic. 2026 is going to be even better for the people that are ready to
I
work.
Yep. Agree, absolutely. And you know what's really kind of this hit me like a ton of bricks the other day. I was sitting at my desk and my assistant said, "Wait a minute, what quarter are we in?" And I was like, "Q3." And
Whoa.
then I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Q3," right? Which means think about it this way, Tom. We have 90 days left to bake 2025. That's it. It might be down to 80 because we're like midway through July. 90 days left to bake 2025, and everything else that we do is 2026. Think about that.
I agree with you. I mean, this is there's and this is why a lot of agents, like, they have a great first half and then their second half sucks, is because they think, oh, I still got 5 6 months left in the year on July 11th when we're filming this. Well,
Right.
we know the new year really starts like November 15th. Like that's when you start. Like any business you book is likely not going to close the same calendar year. There's a few that will.
Well, but
I would
yes, the business that you put under contract, but go back to
I'm with
all
you
of the
here.
data that we just said,
Yeah.
right? Like
Well,
it
these are
might even be.
2026 opportunities. We're on the same page. That's exactly where
Yeah,
I'm
like
going.
right now is the calls that we're making today, the emails, the property alerts, all of that stuff, you're baking 2026 starting today. I've got to send
Yep.
that to my agents. I'm going to send this message out through Slack after.
So let's get Bobby to make that the clip for today. Bobby, you're on notice here. Let's post this bad boy that It's 2026 prospecting time. It's 2026 pipeline stuffing time. And the people that get that are going to win long term. Like it's just
Yep.
so simple. And I don't know why agents can't embrace this, but maybe that's why there's that 87% washout rate. So what else do
Fair.
we got here, Lisa?
I think that pretty much wraps it up. It was a good episode, minus Byron, who's living it up in Vegas without
What do you
us.
what do you think he's doing right now? I mean, is he having
He's
like
sleeping.
some like sleeping? See what we're what 2-3 hours ahead, so he's probably not sleeping because he was texting us. I have a feeling he's at like some like nice breakfast, right? Maybe he's gonna get lunch
Smoking a
later.
cigar.
Yeah, smoking a cigar, sitting there. I don't think Alex or Mosey smokes cigars. And I don't think Sharon does either. But I think
Byron
Erica.
doesn't care if people
Yeah.
don't smoke or don't like the smell. He lights it up anyway.
No, that's and Vegas is a smoking friendly environment. I bet Eric Simon's at the
100%.
sports book. He's probably looking at Major League Baseball lines right now. You think Byron's going to lunch today? That's what I want to know. Is he going to lunch?
Well, we know he actually fasts while he travels. He doesn't eat,
Oh,
so
good point. Although we did, he
so
did
no.
the day in Boston that Friday. He ate a lot that morning. It was he was ordering all kind of wraps and stuff. He had a big
But it
cinnamon
wasn't a
bun when he got
travel
to your
day.
office. Oh, good point. Well,
So
no, he was
funny.
flying home that night. I think I got stuck in Boston. But
Oh,
anyway, you were getting
well.
your dog.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
How's the dog working out? We can talk about dogs here. It's been good so far? Did you get him
She's
potty trained?
she's well, so you're gonna mock me. Byron would totally mock me. We sent her off with an amazing trainer who has
Of course
had
you
her
did.
for the past. We get her back on Wednesday. She'll have been gone for 4 weeks, and we get videos and pictures almost every day. And she's amazing. I said to the trainer, like yesterday, I texted her and I was like, I'm almost afraid to take her back because I'm going to break her. She's so good right now, but she's fully house trained. She can sit down, stay. She knows not to go through doors without permission. Oh my gosh, if I sent you the videos, you'd just be like, that's amazing.
Just send him to Bridget because she'll care way more about him than I will. This is that when we went on vacation the one time down to Florida, we dropped our dog off at a place like that, and they were like, you could pay for like extra cuddle time and stuff. What a racket that is, because they're going to cuddle with the dogs anyway. But I don't know. Our dog,
Yeah,
he's doing all right. We trained him
yours
to go
is
for stairs there.
little. Yeah, I think there's a difference between like a little dog and like a big dog. I think big dogs you have to train them. I think little dogs you can just pick it up if it's naughty.
We when we he was like a pre-approved. This is like a pre-approved cash buyer dog. We when our last dog died, we called the breeder we got the original one from, and she's like, "You're not gonna believe this. I have a 6-month-old potty trained dog," and I'm like, "Sold." I'm like, "Let's go right now." We were there the next day, so.
Wow.
But
Okay. Yeah,
it was also we knew the breeder. Like there's a little familiarity there, and the kids were
right.
devastated. So I think that had a lot more to do with it than. I mean, your kids are older. Like this was
You're
2-3
older,
years
yeah.
ago. I mean, they're like crying at the bus stop. I'm like, ugh, I don't know what to do here. So ended up working. We didn't have a dog for one day. So anyone says this is
Oh
too
my
hard,
gosh, you went fast. We waited a
it was the
couple of
same kind
months
of
in
dog. I
between.
mean, it was a little
Yeah.
different. I mean, look again. I think that was what 3-4 years ago. I had like a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old. Like, I mean, it was a disaster. So anyway, enough
Yeah,
dog
I
talk. I
get
got
you.
to go make some phone calls, Lisa. So
Ditto.
do us a favor, subscribe to
Perfect.
the pod if you got some value out of this. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, Byron won't be jet setting around with Alex Hermosi and Sharon Travaza. Later.
You've got a CRM for your leads, great. But what about your clients? Leads are important. It's how we get clients, but clients are everything moving forward in our business. And if you're not giving them a high touch, done for you experience from day one to years after the closing, you're leaving referrals and repeat business on the table. That's why my team uses Mosaic. It's a client experience platform that picks up where CRMs leave off. Personalized property searches, offer comparisons, real-time transaction timelines. Clients want transparency today. This provides it. To post-close homeowner reminders and equity updates, it's everything your client needs without you having to duct tape 5 different systems together. So most agents lose their clients after the deal. They just forget about them. The client forgets about the agent. Mosaic helps you keep them, stay top of mind, and win the next deal before they even think about calling someone else. But Mosaic has limited availability in each market, and some are already full. So check out the link and just see if there's availability in your market. The link will provide you that information. If it's available for your market, check it out. Mosaic, link down below. Thank you so much for checking out this week's Knowledge Brokers podcast. If you want to take what we're doing here at BAM and use it in your own business, join us over at School. We just switched BAMX into the #1 education and community platform. Go to school.com/BAMX or hit the link in the description, school.com/BAMX. I'll see you in the community.